This episode of To Make Sense was brought to you by the following sponsors.
I'm going to jail!
And by contributions to your TWIMC station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, Will here, and I'm here today with Steven. I wonder if there's anything else better in life. Is that a bottle of Benadryl? Anyways, what's up y'all? For those who don't know what we were just doing, me and Steven, we were talking about the YouTuber known as Scott the Woz, and the way he starts every video is just by saying, "Hey y'all, Scott here," and he always has like a joke, like what I just satirized.
The reason that I just died laughing on my screen is because moments ago when we were about to start the recording, before I actually started it, I did the "Hey all, Scott here" intro because we had been talking about this before, and then I said, no, I'm just kidding, I'm not actually going to start the episode like that. So then I actually start the recording and Will pulls the actual intro.
I had another alternate intro in mind that I was going to do, but I'm going to save it for another episode because I just thought that doing what I just did would be funnier.
Yeah. First things first, you guys probably noticed my light still does not work, so...
Oh yeah, for those who are just so enthralled in the conflict of whether or not he would have electricity.
Well, no, I have electricity, because, I mean, otherwise how would my computer be functioning? But it's
Well,
just the light.
Electricity in the form of lights in your room.
I mean, the light in my bathroom is on, and the light in my closet is on, so, like...
I mean, why didn't you just film in your bathroom, honestly?
That is a weird statement. Moving on. Hello, everybody. If you've never seen the podcast before, this is the show where Will brings up topics, and I will usually respond to them. I may or may not know what he's talking about, but I do my best to give my opinions anyway.
That is indeed what this podcast is, and we're going to start this off by announcing something. Steven is an esports team. This is something that...
I am an esport, yes. Quoting what Will just said, I, the individual Steven right here, am an entire esports team, just by myself. That is what Will just said, so...
So, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we were trying to plan for this episode, and on a day where we were supposed to record, he was like, "Oh, actually, sorry, I'm going to be unavailable that day. That's when I have to practice for my esports team." And I'm just like, "You're an esports team?" Like, this is legitimately
very intrigued.
the first time he's ever brought this up to me. Or to any of y'all. I would imagine if I was in an esports team, I would want that to be like to talk about that in a podcast episode. Like I have to imagine there's like a million topics you can talk about.
I don't know. Well, okay, here's the funniest part about it is like Will and I, like, we have some shared interests, but like we differ in a good number of ways, which kind of gives the podcast its diversity. I'm kind of more of a gamer, like, you know, I play lots of games, and like Will plays games too, but like I tend to be more versed on the subject, I would say, at the risk of offending Will. I'm not trying to like downplay you or anything. It's just, I would say I have more of an
I mean, you're not really offending me by saying I don't play games that often, because I don't.
Yeah, anyway, I was not expecting that, like, I mentioned, like Will said, like, it was when we were trying to plan, and we were going to record the podcast originally on Saturday, but the time that Will wanted to record the podcast was the same time that that I had a match that I had to play, which is very important, so I couldn't record, so I was like, yeah, we gotta move it. I was expecting it to just be done, be like, you know, I can't record, and Will just says, okay, how about we do this day? And I was like, okay, and we go our separate ways. No, Will was so unbelievably intrigued by the fact that I was on an esports team, to the point where he was asking there was an entire section of our DMs a couple days ago that was just him asking me questions about this, and honestly, like,
because you never said anything about this before. I was like, I never knew you did this.
But I wasn't expecting.
Like,
you
it's
to
not
be
the
so,
most
like,
impossible thing in the world, but it's like, for me to have not known.
I just wasn't expecting that level of interest, right? Like, you know,
I don't know, something about just the idea.
Fly airplanes, like, you know, you don't ask questions about me flying airplanes, right?
Because that's something you've talked to me about before. We've talked about this literally since the first episode, but not
That's
once did you
true,
ever
that
bring
is
up
true.
this.
That
So
is
that's
true.
why I
This
was so
podcast
interested, because
This
there's something
podcast
you've
was
never
literally
opened up
founded on the
about.
idea of me being a pilot, so
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me being weird, but it's just like, I don't know. This is just
I mean,
interesting
I
to
don't
hear. Like,
mind.
interesting to learn.
like I don't
Like, 'cause, like-
mind. I don't mind like you asking and like explaining it. I think it's like I have fun doing it. It's wild to me how interested you were in the subject, since I never took you to be the kind of person that would be interested in that kind of thing.
I don't know. I mean, like you've established, I'm not much of a gamer, but I do play games. I do like video games.
What?
It's just like, I don't.
No, you play games, dude. Somebody call the news right now.
Okay, come on. You're bullying. I
Guys,
feel like this is bullying.
news flat
Come on.
right here. You heard it here first, folks. Will from the To Whom It May Concern podcast plays games. I mean, mind blown, right? Leave a comment down below if you agree.
Okay, well, that aside, I just wanted to open up with that because, like, as much as he mocks it, it's like, imagine you've known someone for several years, and then they bring up a fact about them that you've never known because they've never said anything
I
about
mean,
it.
okay, to
Like-
be fair, I haven't been on the esports team the entire time that we've known each other. Like, this is a
But
relatively
I
recent
know
thing.
that, but like you said yourself, you've been in this esports scene for like a year.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, a year's
So,
not
like-
that long.
But like, it's a year. A year. How many episodes have we recorded at that time? Like 20?
Aren't we on like episode like 60 something now?
We're on 50 something. I don't remember, but like,
Oh.
I don't know. Like, it's just wild to me. Like, I don't know.
Also,
Like-
for all -1 viewers that are wondering about the specifics of the esports team, since Will certainly seemed intrigued, I suppose I should probably say something about it.
Yes,
It-
elaborate.
So yes, I am on an esports team. The team that I play for is attached to the college that I go to, which, as you all know, is Auburn University. War Eagle. Okay. But yeah, so basically, like, our college just has a club that's pretty much entirely dedicated to esports, and within that sort of organization, there's a variety of different games that have like teams and stuff. One of them, and the one that I play for, being Splatoon. And if you don't know what Splatoon is, I don't blame you, because not a lot of people do. It's a Nintendo game. That's really all you need to know. It's Nintendo's take on a shooter.
I haven't played it, but I know what it is. I feel like you're downplaying how popular it is. Like, maybe to like the average person who just goes to a 9 to 5, okay, maybe they don't know what it is, but like, I feel like a lot of kids especially know what Splatoon is. You know what I mean? Like,
Not gonna go there. Not gonna go there. So
like how obscure of a game are we talking?
I don't know, man. It's a Nintendo game, and it's basically a shooter, but Nintendo. That's pretty much the premise. Will can put up some B-roll of like the trailer for the game on screen or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, that you just saw was, yeah, that's what the game looks like. That's the game that we play. So yeah, I mean that's kind of it. Like, there's a team we have a total of 12 people on the team. It's split into 2 separate teams of 6 people. The game is only 4 versus 4, but we have like extra people that we swap in and out. But yeah, we have 2 separate teams, but they're all kind of under the same sort of umbrella of like the Splatoon section, I guess you could call it, of the esports organization. But yeah, I mean, that's what I played for. It's part of college, I guess, is like the main thing.
Yeah.
Because it's
I guess that's a good distinction to make, because he's not on like a esports, like he's not part of FaZe Clan, right? He's not part of the
it's not like
FaZe Clan team of Splatoon.
Yeah,
if that's a thing, I don't know.
It's not like a professional, like, you know, we go to like these giant arenas and play in front of crowds of people and win like money and stuff. Like, it's not that level. But
that's low-key kind of what I envisioned when you mentioned it. Maybe that's why I got excited, because I got the impression that it was.
That's probably because that's what a lot of people think of when they hear esports. A lot of people that don't really know what esports is will think of that when you tell them esports, and they'll just be like, "Oh,
I think that's what
I
happened.
know esports."
You know what? I think that's what happened. I think I just imagined you're just in a big arena and you're just walking in with the rest of your team wearing matching jerseys or whatnot.
We do have jerseys. Auburn actually does have jerseys for the esports teams.
And like I watched a couple of the matches that I could find online, and from what I can tell, there's no webcam of any of the players. So I mean, like,
yeah, no, it's not that advanced because we play online, so like we're not like in like an arena or anything like that.
That would be funny though. I'm just imagining like a. I wonder if there's like a sports anime out there, because sports anime used to, because they usually go all out, like having these big arenas, these big stadiums. I wonder if there's an anime for esports. That is actually a question. I'm gonna look into that and see if there is.
Next podcast episode, I know esports anime.
There's a ton for soccer and basketball and like volleyball. I know that, but like, I wonder if there's a anime about esports. Alright, there's a couple. There's one called Protocol Rain, and it's called The King's Avatar. I don't know if these are really one. Okay, there's a core form on there. There's one called No Game, No Life. Another one called Bafuri. I don't want to get. Okay. Alright. There's some recommendations out there. You can all watch them and let me know if it's good or bad or whatever. But yeah. Alright, so for this next topic, I'm actually going to gather a photo or two because I need to send this to you. But
I thought you gave
Steven,
me all of my homework already.
I technically did, but this was one that I realized would be it would be nice to provide some context for this, like visual context for you to see. But let me go ahead and let me just go ahead and make a statement. On this podcast, we like to complain. Is that something you can agree on, Steven?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that we do a pretty good amount of complaining about various things on this podcast.
Yeah, we do a ton of complaining. So that's why for this next part of the podcast, I'd like to bring a little bit of wholesomeness. I actually came across something the other day. And by the other day, I mean a few weeks ago, because this is something that's supposed to be.
I mean, it was recent, another day, so like you're not wrong.
Yeah. But before, alright. So this what I'm going to send you right now. This was part of a video that was uploaded, and basically, the video followed a young girl, and this girl, she has a birthmark on her eye, like a big red mark that she was like born with, and she was at a store and she came across a plushie of a character from an anime, and this character's name is Todoroki. And in the show, he also has a red mark over his eye. And basically, she picked up the plushie and she was like, "Hey, look, he has the birthmark like me." And the way she says it and the way she, experiences joy when finding it, it was just really wholesome. And I wish I had time. All right, so I'm going to send it to you now. And so basically, the video goes viral, and a bunch of people actually start making fan art of the encounter. Like, basically, making fan art, basically in universe, this character, Todoroki, coming across this girl. And, they form a nice friendship, a nice bond. And, this is something that's just wholesome. This is something that I found very, very wholesome. For one particular, there's an obvious reason, it's a little girl who, she has a, something like okay, it's not a defect, but it's something that I'm sure she gets teased on all the time, with the birthmark, which is unfortunate, but, her coming across a character that shares a similar visual feature, and her being able to connect with it because of it, I just think that's just really cool. What do you think, Steven?
I don't know. I feel like that's I feel like that's something that it definitely kind of it's something, because if you think about it, right, it's something that I feel like a lot of people could also connect with, because like you see this girl and she sees like this character from whatever it was, anime, I think you said, and like being able to connect to that, and like that sort of scene of this character making a connection with another character, or like kind of a character that's in a character that is a character in the world of the original character, if that makes any sense at all.
Okay, let me just paraphrase what I think Steven's trying to say. So basically, a real person in the world coming across a character that shares a similar birthmark, which we'll get into. Technically not birthmark. We're talking about the anime character here, but someone who shares a similar look of having like a red mark on their face, and her and this kid being able to connect with someone just based on that. And in the video, you even hear it start like, "He has a birthmark just like me," and this is the type of thing that I think made the internet collectively just go, "Aww." And when I saw it, I also just went, "Aww." Like, I feel like we don't get enough wholesome content, like wholesome things that actually go viral. Because like a lot of things that go viral nowadays are a lot of just stupid stuff, if I'm being honest, which has kind of always been the case, but it's just nice to see something like this every once in a while, you know what I mean? What I find especially impressive about this is the anime this character, Todoroki, comes from is an anime called My Hero Academia. And I wanted to explain a little bit about this. The anime has a notoriously toxic fan base, and like the anime, it was one of those things where it's like the fan base was so known for being bad that it actually turned off a lot of people from watching the anime because of this. And there's a ton of videos out there that go into more detail about this, but I feel like it's so impressive to me that the good, because the thing about toxic fandoms is that it's only a portion of the entire fan base, but it's the portion that usually represents the entire fan base for most of the time for worse. Because you when wanting to see what a fan base of a thing is, you want to see the good parts of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know why. Like this could honestly be a whole topic in and of itself. But I'm gonna try not to elaborate too much on it. But why does it seem like whenever there's a fan base for a piece of media, be it like a game or a TV show or an anime or a movie or whatever it may be, it's always the most negative parts of the fan base that stand out the most. No matter what size they are, it doesn't matter how much of a minority it is. The negative parts of the fan base and the people who are super negative and super toxic are always the ones that you see. There could be 1 million positive fans for every one negative fan, and you'll still see the negative ones. And why is that? Why is it always the most negative and most toxic parts of fan bases that stand out so much?
couple of reasons. There's a couple of reasons. Fundamentally, social media seems to be like the algorithm that constructs the timeline that fills up these social media sites, whether it be Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. They all run on negativity because there's a human psychology element where humans are naturally drawn more to engage in something that's negative than something that's positive. And so I think that's part of it. Another reason is because I feel like when an anime like My Hero Academia gets to be the side to where like at the popularity level that it gets, where it's like it gets popular to a point where it becomes quote unquote cool to hate on it, and those looking for validation ends up feeding the engagement on posts or blogs or videos or whatever on something that critiques and hates on something rather than something that gives it praise, because the person that's giving something praise of a show that's extremely popular, it kind of something that people could look at and be like, oh, they're just following the grain, they're just saying what everyone else is saying. Like, you like that show, so what? Everyone likes that show, what makes you special? And so I think because of that, a lot of people will turn on something. And I'm not saying this to say that My Hero Academia is a perfect anime, because like I've seen it and it definitely has its flaws, but I definitely wouldn't say that it deserves the hate that it usually gets because of the toxic fan base. But with that aside, this story right here is an example of the positive side of a fan base that usually gets overshadowed. But this was one of those cases where it's an exception. And I just wanted to bring attention to it because I just thought it was a sweet story. And there's tons more fan art, and there's even fan animations that like some people will animate like this kid like coming across this Todoroki character like in the style of the anime to make it look like it's an anime scene. You can look it up on YouTube. It's just super wholesome. And I just wanted to talk about it too. And this is funny too. I wanted to talk about this topic to stray away from the complaining, but thanks to you, Steven, we turned it into a segment about complaining, about toxic fans.
Yeah, that is just what happens on this podcast,
Yeah. And speaking of complaining, let's go ahead and do it some more. So I sent you a video of the Shrek 5 announcement trailer of
which, let me say so, I actually watched it. I didn't have any comments on it because at the time Will sent it to me because I hadn't really watched it at that point. Now that I have actually watched it, I actually watched it like recently, like kind of right before we did the podcast. But now that I have watched it, I just gotta say, first of all, I know it's just a teaser and it's kind of like a first look kind of thing, but it's really short. Like if you compare to like even like first teaser trailers that you usually see for movies, they're usually not that short. Like this thing was barely a couple minutes.
I love how that's the first negative you can point out.
No, well, it gets worse than that. That was just kind of the first thing I noticed. Okay. But I mean, like,
I'm just saying.
Even the Minecraft movie, for example, like the very first trailer we got for the Minecraft movie was like multiple times longer than this Shrek 5 trailer. But the reason, one of the main reasons that I point out how short it is because like just the way that this trailer is constructed disappoints me, and it tells me one of two things are true. Either the movie industry is moving in a very weird direction and really experimenting with some new ideas, shall we say, or this trailer's fake. One of two things are true.
Okay. To bring up that second thing, this is not fake. It's on the official Universal. Wait, is it Universal or is it? Well, either way, one of the movie studios, Universal Pictures, they officially dropped this video, so it is not fake.
Either fake or like maybe not like literally fake. Like someone went out and like photoshopped it, but like maybe like a not completely serious type of thing. But like if it is like a completely serious, like we're announcing this, we're actually making a Shrek 5, then like I said, first of all, it's really short for a movie trailer, and there's not a whole lot that gets shown. There's like one very small scene that gets shown that pretty much just introduces one new character, and that's kind of it. And then they just list like 4 cast members, and then that's it. That's all the trailer is. It's like one scene, one new character, 4 cast members, done. Like there's not a lot there. So like that just makes me think either like they're really early on this, like they don't really have a lot to show of this movie yet, which just makes me wonder why put a trailer out in the first place. Why not just wait and make a trailer once you have a little bit more to show on the movie, instead of just saying, yeah, we're making Shrek 5 and then just leaving it at that. But also just like just the style of the trailer, just it seems like something that some random person on YouTube would make. It really seems like a YTP. It feels like a YTP is what it feels like. It does not feel like an official trailer. Just the vibe. The vibe is off.
Okay, is my mic okay? I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people have been critiquing like this trailer, but none of them have critiqued it for what you're critiquing it for. Like, okay, so first of all, let's just say, okay, so the official upload of it calls it a cast announcement. They don't necessarily call it a trailer or a teaser, for that matter. So I'm a little confused about your point about it being structured.
I don't know.
Badly.
I don't know.
Okay, so
listen,
but okay,
you gotta
disregarding.
I don't.
Okay, disregarding all that. Like, let's put aside the structure of the trailer. What do you think of the look? Like the look of the CG characters and how Shrek and the rest of the characters look. What do you think on that?
Honestly, in terms of just like raw appearance and graphics, it looks pretty standard. It looks just about the same as the other Shrek movies, as far as I can tell. Maybe like a little bit more smoothed out and modern, but
Okay. So you think there's very little difference in how it looks?
At least I don't have an eye for it, but like having seen I think at least 3 of the other Shrek movies at some point, and at any rate just knowing how they look, it looks, I mean, it's like, okay, so think about like Toy Story, right? Think about like the difference between Toy Story 2 and like Toy Story 4. Like Toy Story 4 was one of the newer movies that came quite a while after Toy Story 3 did, and you could tell the graphics in that were a lot newer. They looked like, you know, they were more polished, I guess. They just looked more high quality, but it still had the same overall style. Like it wasn't really different. Like it wasn't really a different style. It was just kind of an improvement on the existing style. That's kind of how I would compare this trailer to the other Shrek movies. It's the same style, but just improved.
Okay. And I think the rest of the internet would like to beg to differ.
I'm sure they would. Like I said,
So I will say I am kind of with the internet on this. Not to say that it looks like super bad, and like I get the point you're making about how it just looks like how on surface level it does look pretty much the same. However, I would like to make the argument that this new look is actually a detractor from how the original looked. I think it's just a matter of like they tried to remodel all the characters, and they kind of made it look less like a DreamWorks movie and more like a Disney movie. Like
I can hardly tell the difference between DreamWorks and Disney anyway. So
okay, but to me, it's just like when looking at the trailer of this, it's like I see the similarities, but I feel like the differences like still like stand out like a sore thumb, and like, it just doesn't look as good in my opinion, because I think the art direction of this I understand I probably sound super pretentious right now talking about art direction or stuff, but like I don't know.
I'm
Something
a
about
film
this felt.
major. I'm a film major. I know how movies are supposed to look. Art direction.
It's not even a matter of being.
style.
It's not even a matter of being a film major. It's just a matter of like, you know. And I will also say this too. I think the opening, the opening of this announcement of like them scrolling on the mirror like it's a TikTok. I found that to be really cringy because you can just tell the thought process that went behind that scene of like, oh, how about we have the magic mirror? They like scroll through it like TikTok, and they see a meme of Shrek, and Shrek is like, whoa, what was that? Like, it's just so cringy to me.
Yeah,
like,
well, I mean, that wasn't also. I noticed that. Like I noticed that that was something that I would group under like the style of the cast announcement, sorry, but just like the style of it and kind of how it was structured, I guess you could say. It's like they're showing like internet memes as part of a movie, and like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's just not something that you really see a lot. You generally see memes show up on the internet as a result of things that were originally in movies, not the other way around. And like, I'm all for having internet content be part of movies. I think like, if it's used right, that could be interesting and entertaining. It's just kind of a new concept that hasn't really shown up, at least not in like things that I've seen. And granted, I am a very small test case because I don't really watch a lot of movies and don't have a lot of knowledge on movies, but in terms of the movies that I've seen, I haven't really seen that be a thing, and I haven't really heard people talk about that being a thing. And so it's just kind of weird. Okay. But all that to say that kind of like them like scrolling through the mirror like it's a TikTok and like seeing memes of Shrek on it, I noticed that. It's just not like, I wouldn't necessarily call that a art choice or like a graphic design choice. I don't think that's really tied to the overall look of the movie. That's just kind of like that's more like a scripting thing and like how the movie's written rather than like its appearance. So when you ask me how the movie looks and how I think of like its appearance, that like I'm not really thinking of, oh, they scroll through the mirror like it's a TikTok.
Okay, hold on. I'm not gonna lie, you lost me. You've completely lost me. So let me go ahead and clarify a couple things. So let me just get into how I felt about the trailer or cast announcement or whatever you want to call it. I think it was awful. I personally think it was awful for a few reasons. One, we could talk about the scripting of it. Like, disregarding appearances, like disregarding that. The idea of a movie or like a something like this, like tying or like playing in to the fact that there's Shrek memes and like that them reacting to a meme of themselves is just like, I know you said you haven't seen that in many things, but I can assure you this is something that's been done quite a bit, just in a lot of modern movies and shows, and a bunch of stuff that you probably wouldn't have seen, because it's like, I understand you don't watch a lot of TV or movies, which is like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm just saying it's just, I just think it's just the idea of a character reacting to a meme of themselves, whether it be a real meme or a meme they create for the sake of the story. I just think it's so cliche and dumb to me. Like, just the idea of it. It's like, it could be done good, but in this case, I don't think it was. Because the setup was so just like half-assed of just like them looking at the mirror and be like, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the best of them all? And the mirror's like, of course it's Shrek. And then it pulls up the TikTok thing. Like, I just found that to be super lazy. And it's like, it's clear they were trying to make a self-aware joke on the fact that Shrek has been a meme, but I just felt like they did it in the cringiest way possible. And it's like,
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say like it's not cringe. Like, it definitely is. I'm just saying like the idea of having like memes and other internet content be incorporated into movies is like as a concept is not necessarily a bad idea. It just has to be done properly. But you're right, the way it was done in this trailer is undoubtedly very cringe. I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
So yeah, hold on, I'm dying real quick. Just give me a second. All right, but let's go ahead and talk about the design. So if we look at the design, the new design of Shrek, what has basically happened is they've taken his eyes and they've made them a lot bigger, and they pushed it in a little bit to make him look more appealing. And that's not what Shrek is about. What Shrek is about is embracing the ugliness. Because if you look at the original version of Shrek, you know, he doesn't look like a handsome dude, and that's the idea. They embrace the ugliness.
Yeah,
and so by trying to make it look more, hold on. By trying to make it look more appealing and more Disney-fied, I feel like that goes against the concept of what Shrek is about. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is because it's in conjunction with the really shitty TikTok thing, it really is like striking fear that this movie is not going to turn out great, because this is what they decided to put out as like a, oh yeah, they're going to love this type of thing, you know?
I don't know. I
probably explained that so badly, but there's just something that's like, I'm not going to act like I'm the hugest Shrek fan. Like, I've seen the movies. I think they're good. But it's like, I just saw this. I was just like, my whole reaction was just like, what is this? What are they doing? Like,
oh no, as someone who is definitely not a Shrek fan, I mean, like, I've seen the movies, but I wouldn't call myself a fan in the sense that, like, oh, I'm like super excited about like this new movie that's coming out, and I think it's gonna be like I really want to, like, I guess you could call me indifferent. I guess I don't really care that much.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, like, I'm just looking at it more in terms of like a conceptual thing, like just thinking of this of like, you know, what if this becomes a theme like that other movies are going to start following, and they're going to say, oh yeah.
Again, on that topic, other movies have done it. Other shows have done
true.
it.
You mentioned
there's an entire video that I could probably link you to. That's made by the YouTuber named Tomska, where it's like nearly an hour. It's literally an hour of him going over this exact trope being used in movies and TV shows. Like, he goes over like all the times that it's happened. And it's like, it's to varying degrees of quality, but most of the time that it's, you know, implemented, it's like it's very bad, because the writers are just so out of touch with why, you know, TikTok, everything, why it's actually funny, or why it can be funny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They just don't get. It's quite literally, they just don't get, like, they don't get it. I guess it's like at a very basic level, that is the problem. Is like people in executive positions that make the writing decisions for these movies don't understand like what the target audience finds funny. And so they just kind of go with what's popular and just kind of make like an amalgamation of like, oh, this thing, a lot of people seem to like it, so let's just throw it in here. But they don't really get it. Like, they don't know the proper way to use it in a context that makes it funny. Is the best way I can think of to explain it.
Right. So yeah, that was the Shrek 5 thing. And also, there was a new trailer of the Minecraft movie. From what I understand, you said you haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I forgot to watch that one because it got buried by our conversation about esports.
Right. So we're not going to get too much into that. We've gone on about the Minecraft movie before. The new trailer, it just wasn't funny, man. It just was not funny. Like, it was just one of these things, like, even if it looks bad, and even if they don't really understand what Minecraft is at all, at least they could make it funny. And that was the number one problem. It wasn't funny.
No, executive
And you can say
directors do not know how to make things funny. That's
they tell jokes. They definitely tell jokes, but they don't have funny moments. They don't have funny jokes. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So says that. And one other thing that I sent you, Steven, that I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure if you looked at it or heard any of it or checked it out. I sent you a video of a compilation of jazz music, and I think the title of it was something along the lines of "Jazzy but not too jazzy," and it's part of a channel that pushes out music for you to listen to that's like calming, and you could use it to study or relaxing. You know those type of like songs, right? The type like the lo-fi girl, the
Yeah.
lo-fi music that you put on while you sleep
Yeah.
or while you study. But this particular channel does jazz type music. And what's interesting, so first of all, did you see that link that I sent you?
Hold on.
Okay.
The
If you scroll all the way up past our conversation, it's right above the Minecraft movie trailer. I sent
this
you
one.
a.
The one you said it's about an hour long. You don't have to listen to the whole thing. Yeah, I don't. Okay, I'm pretty sure I listened to some of this, but I got kind of bored and stopped. And I don't really
Alright.
remember it that much. I just remember it was music. That's kind of it.
Okay, all right. That's like you memorizing it or anything. Like it doesn't matter. Like if you like listen to it or like the entire thing. I just wanted to. Do you remember what the music sounded like at all? Like what the like you like obviously it's gonna be jazz, but do you remember?
Jazz.
like-
That's it.
Okay, all right. So how about this? How about we take a segment right now where you go up to the video and just listen to a little bit of it. I'm just like a few seconds of it, and let me know what you think because this is gonna be this is an interesting topic and an interesting discussion behind this type of music.
I'm just gonna
But,
listen
I want
to
you
it.
to,
I'm literally just gonna hit play and just listen to like the first. Oh, of course, it wants me to open YouTube. Hold on. Now I gotta listen to an ad.
yeah, all the like listen to Matthew McConaughey advertise Uber Eats or something.
Uber Eats is my job.
Yeah. All right. So
So
you're here. So you're hearing it, right?
yes, I'm actually gonna send this into the podcast recording so you guys can hear what I'm listening to.
Okay. If you want to do that, that's cool. Just play it for a little bit. It make my job as an editor easier.
Yeah, so here is you will hear in the background of the podcast recording a sample of what I am hearing.
All right. Let me know when you start playing it. And you don't have to you don't have to tune in super hard. You just have to hear it and just hear the sounds that's making and all that. So you're playing it.
Yeah, I'm listening to it. It's like your pretty standard like saxophone, like smooth kind of drum, like snare drums, kind of like that,
Right.
like regular beat, I guess. Like all of the basic components that you would associate with jazz.
Okay.
It literally,
Alright, if
having listened to that, that's 41 seconds of like the first song. It literally just sounds like jazz. Like I'm sorry if I'm missing something here, but it just sounds like jazz. Like
I love that reaction. I love it. And you'll understand why in a little bit. So if you want, you can go ahead and pause it. That's enough sampling of the jazzy, but not too jazzy. Alright, so you stopped it, right?
yep.
That entire thing was made with AI. That song and the rest of the songs that are in that compilation, that was all made with AI. A human didn't make that. AI did.
Okay, is that supposed to make me not like it, or?
Well, I just want to get your reaction of like you hear the song, you hear that it's jazz music. I just want to get your reaction of like now knowing that it's like a robot basically made this. I'm not asking if you think it's bad or good. We're not getting to that yet. I just want you to like let me know what do you think about it, like of what it's producing.
I mean, it's music. Like where it came from doesn't really matter. Like when I'm listening to music, right, I'm judging based on how the music sounds to me, like right then and there, how the final product sounds. Like I don't care where it came from. I don't care who made it, what made it. I don't care what the process was. If it sounds good, it sounds good. And so like, I mean, it sounds like music. It's not like, you know, bashed together by someone who didn't know what they were doing. It's obviously been produced by someone with a little bit of know-how. So like, yeah, okay. So it's made by AI, but like that doesn't change my opinion on it. I still think it sounds fine. It still sounds like jazz.
Okay. All right. Sorry, still dying here. Title of this episode is gonna be Will dies. Just
yeah.
Will dies.
Will died during this episode.
But so your so the gist of your reaction is just all right. Well, it still sounds good. So
yeah. Well,
so
I mean, yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Let me make that clear straight off the bat. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing fundamentally. I just want to start the conversation on like when it comes to music. How do you view it? Do you just view it as just a bunch of notes that are just there, or do you view it as something that a human, hold on, let me finish real quick.
Yeah.
Do you view it as something that's a human creation, like a human put thought into how it gets put together, or do you not care if a robot takes over the process of the arrangement of notes or instruments or whatever?
I mean, okay, listen. If we're gonna get into this conversation, like, there is something to be said about recognizing music as a form of art, and we already had an entire discussion on a different episode about like what is art and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna get into that. Just assuming that music is a form of art, because many people would consider it to be. There is something to be said about recognizing someone's creation when they make music, and recognize, like, seeing a piece of or hearing a piece of music that someone made, and just recognizing like the work that went into it, and saying, yeah, someone, you know, worked hard to make this, and I think that they did a really good job. But I feel like that idea of recognition of the effort that went into it is a separate idea from like the music itself. It's like when you listen to music, you're listening to a piece and you say, I think this piece sounds good. That's kind of one section. Like at a fundamental level, you listen to the music, you think the music sounds good. And then as kind of a separate thing, you say, this piece of music, which I have decided sounds good, was made by a person, and now I'm going to recognize this person's efforts because they made a piece of music which we have established sounds good. When you have music that's made by AI and not a person, you're really just kind of taking away the recognition part because a person didn't make it, and you just have a piece of music that sounds good. Like, it's just kind of like, I mean, it's still music, right? Like, you still can listen to it, you still can hear it as music, you can still think it sounds good. It's just there's no one to really recognize for making it because a person didn't make it. But in my opinion, that doesn't really make it less music, I guess. Like, it's not any less music, and it's not, in my opinion, as long as it's well made, it's not any less enjoyable just because it wasn't made by someone and there's no one to recognize for it. Because I don't think that you necessarily have to recognize someone in order to enjoy it as music. You recognize that someone made it and put work into it because you enjoy it, but you can still enjoy it even if it was made by not a person.
I like the stance you're taking. I don't fully agree, but I do see where you're coming from. I do think you're making a very good point. You're making a strong point about how the recognition of the hard work of the music doesn't necessarily have to correlate or be part of a causation of whether or not the music itself is good. But I think for me, because for me, I love music. I really do love. I'm dying. But I do love music. And when I'm listening to this, because this came up in my recommended when I was like when I was working on working on schoolwork, and I had to find a something to listen to like be background noise. I listened to it, and I was like, "Yeah, this sounds really good." And then I was just listening to it, and then while I was listening to it, I had this strange feeling, and I couldn't necessarily
Something's wrong.
understand
I can feel it.
I had a feeling of like this is okay. Hold on, I'm gonna take it. We're gonna take a timeout real quick. I'm gonna grab some water.
Commercial break for Will to make an attempt at not dying.
All right, got some water here. All right. So,
You good, bro?
all right. Yeah, I'm going to take a cough drop. I think there's something else I'm going to need to do. I'm going to just take that, and I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths. All right. So back to what I was saying. When listening to this music, there's a strange feeling I get where it's like something just sounds off. Like it doesn't sound bad. It doesn't sound like it was like just randomly put together. It sounds like it was composed properly for like something you could call a musical piece. But I felt a weird sensation of like something doesn't quite feel right about this music. And it wasn't until I looked into it and found out that it was AI that it just suddenly made a lot of sense. Because for me, what gave it away was the fact that, yeah, there are musical elements and musical compositions that are put together to create a musical piece, but how the melodies and everything was just kind of looped after like an 8-bar interval. Like everything just felt like it was just on a continuous loop, like a melody loop that just did not feel truly human to me. It felt very robotic the way that it just looped this melody note that it was producing. And I think that's when it hit me that like human music, they create particularly for jazz, they create a main melody, but they also have a bunch of subsidiary melodies in the background, a bunch of secondary melodies that all differentiate each part of the piece from one another. So while the main melody goes, there's a different part in the background that plays something different than the one it did before. And this type of music doesn't really do that. Now, again, this is just me hyper fixating on small details, but it's those small details that really has me like mentally confused or mentally conflicted when listening to it, where it's just like it doesn't sound bad for the first little bit, but then once you start listening to it again and again and again, you do start to realize how methodical it is, and that's because it was made by AI. AI is not advanced enough to create those subsidiary elements that I mentioned before. And I'm sure that to someone like you, Steven, none of that means anything. None of that means any jack shit. You just like you just like the music. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's very interesting to see how, how people feel about music like this. And like for those who are a little more casual, they'll be like, yeah, this is pretty good music. And then those that are more have listened to music a little bit more and understands a little bit more how it works, they're just like, yeah, this sounds good, but there's something missing. And that thing that's missing is that human touch. I'm sorry if I just yapped. It probably just sounded like I was just going on a huge yapping session, but I had to bring this up. I just had to bring this up. So, what do you think about all that?
I don't know. I like I said, well, not like I said, but what I will say, like, if I like actually went and committed the time to like listen to the whole thing and kind of like really pay attention to the music, I might pick up, like, I wouldn't know because I haven't heard enough of it to know it's there. But like I might be able to notice, because like I like to consider myself relatively well versed in music. I mean, I did take music theory in high school because I had to, and I listened to a lot of music, so I have a basic understanding of like general themes and stuff and kind of how things fit together. I'm not gonna like call myself like an expert composer or artist or anything like that, because I'm not.
I'm gonna make it clear, by the way, I'm not musically educated. I'm not a music student or an expert or anything. I'm just pointing out what I'm hearing and what I'm observing.
Yeah, and like I'm also not like a music student or musically educated or anything like that either. I just have like a very, very basic like baseline understanding of like, oh yeah, this is the things that we use to make music. It not really like any more complicated than that. But just that to say, like, I'm sure that if I listened to it long enough, I could probably hear what you're talking about. Maybe. I just don't really pick up on it now because I have not listened to the thing long enough. But yeah,
and I will say that's fine. Yeah. It's just a topic that I found interesting and I wanted to bring up and get your input on it. So yeah, I think this is a good part to end the episode before I collapse over and die on camera.
Yeah, because we all know it's been working on happening.
I did my best to get through this episode without coughing too much, but it was just a unsuccessful attempt. Let's just call it that. So yeah.
We've both been there.
With that being said, thank you all for watching, and as always, please like and subscribe for another episode of To Whom It May Concern. Out Podcast.